Everyone's telling you not to move to Japan, the YouTubers, the headline, the comment sections. Sure, it's a catchy message, but don't you think someone should say the opposite? So here I am, and today I want to share why, as a local, I still believe you should move to Japan. Right, let's start with the first reason, which is about enriching your life. I studied in England and worked in Indonesia. In England, I was exposed to values like personal freedom and diversity, things that often contrast with the Japanese norm. In Indonesia, I saw how religion, like specifically Islam, deeply shapes everyday life. That is something I've never experienced if I had only lived in Japan. But both experiences completely changed how I see the world. Not just in terms of culture, but in how I understand people and myself. And I believe living in Japan can offer a similar shift for many of you. Well, Japan was closed off to the outside world for over 200 years, and in some ways that legacy still remains. Some of our values are still very unique, I guess. Well, for example, the idea of prioritizing group harmony over individual expression, or the way people often avoid saying what they really think to maintain peace. Well, these might seem insufficient or even illogical at first, but they somehow work in Japan, and learning to see why can truly expand your perspective. For anyone who is curious about how different the world can be, living in Japan offers a daily reminder that there are also other ways to live. And that is something that can deeply enrich your life. For me, one of the best things about living in Japan is that even just walking outside can feel exciting. But I know that might sound strange because I was born and raised here, but still, there is something about everyday life in Japan that never feels boring. If I feel that way as a local, I think you would find everyday life here even more exciting and enjoyable. Maybe it's the changing seasons, the smell of grilled sweet potatoes in autumn, the sakura petals are blowing through the street in spring. I also love how even small things reflect the time of year, like train station music, shop decorations, or the colors on parking. But it's culture that pays attention to detail, and that attention makes ordinary life feel a little more special. Just like I was fascinated by ordinary houses in England, or amazed by the design of mosques in Indonesia, you might find it exciting and refreshing just to walk around and see a traditional Japanese home in a quiet neighborhood. If you are someone who finds beauty in the little things, Japan makes ordinary life feel just a bit more magical. Well, I think one of the reasons I can enjoy those small things so deeply in Japan is because I feel safe here. Well, in Japan, I don't have to constantly watch my back in public. I don't worry about walking home alone at night. I've even left my laptop on the cafe table while using restroom, and it was still there when I got back, of course, in Japan. Japan isn't perfect, sure is that, but on a daily basis, this level of safety is something I've come to take for granted. You can relax here, you can walk at your own pace without always looking over your shoulder, even at midnight in Tokyo. And that kind of safety, it just makes everyday life easier and honestly a lot more comfortable. Well, another thing I love about living in Japan is how people quietly look out for each other. In Japanese society, people are expected to read each other's feelings through subtle expressions and body language. And while that can sometimes feel a bit tricky, it also leads to something beautiful, where people become really good at noticing small changes in others. So if you seem a little off at work, maybe stressed or frustrated, someone might give you space without saying a word, or they might quietly check in to see if you are okay. In everyday life too, there is this unspoken rule. We are all sharing this space, so let's be kind and considerate. It's not loud, it's not obvious, but it makes you feel cared for even when no one says anything. That kind of like gentle awareness is something I deeply appreciate. It's one of the reasons why living in Japan feels so good. One unexpected benefit of living in Japan is that it's actually easier to stay healthy here. I'm not someone who is like super strict about diet or fitness, but in Japan, the whole environment naturally supports a healthier lifestyle. For example, you walk a lot here in Japan. Just going to work or doing your like shopping means you are getting in steps without even trying. Well, especially in places like Tokyo, you mostly get around by train, and sometimes just changing trains can mean walking nearly a kilometer. And then there is the food. So many meals come with vegetables, fish, like fermented food, and smaller portions in Japan. But even the snacks and drinks tend to be lighter, less sugary, and less greasy. On top of that, health is something people in Japan really care about. You may start to see calorie info on everything, like seasonal ingredient meant to boost your immunity, and regular health checkups offered at work. So even if you don't try too hard, you will probably end up living a healthy life here just by being part of it. And related to the food, I really appreciate about, Japanese food. It's because surprisingly affordable. You don't have to go to a fancy restaurant to enjoy a good meal. A simple bowl of udon at a local shop might cost you just like 500 yen, which is roughly $3.5 at the moment. A lunch bento from a convenience store, maybe like 400 yen, which is like less than $3. And quality is good enough. Even if you are living on tight budget here in Japan, it's totally possible to eat tasty, balanced meals every day. As I told you, I've lived abroad before, and I remember how eating out was like luxury, but in Japan it's part of like everyday life. You can just like grab sushi at the supermarket, get a hot meal from vending machine, or walk into a mom and pop place and eat something that tastes homemade for under 1000 yen, which is roughly $6. And the quality of Japanese food always meets our expectation. One thing I really love about living in Japan is how predictable and reliable everything is. Right, for instance, the clear example, trains come when they say they will. Stores open and close exactly as posted, but deliveries show up on time, and when something doesn't go as planned, they almost always explain why and apologize. But even convenience stores are open 24/7, even in like such a local town in my hometown, every day of the year, which is exactly convenient. Unlike some countries where shops close on weekends or holidays, but in Japan, holidays are open when businesses stay open the longest. But I don't have to worry about sudden closures or random delays. But in Japan, there is a strong culture value on keeping things on schedule, people, services, everything. That means unexpected problems are rare, you don't waste time, and things usually move smoothly, basically. So you can actually plan your day and trust the thing will go as expected. For me, that sense of stability is a big reason why living in Japan feels so comfortable. Maybe Japan isn't for everyone. Some people might find it too quiet, too structured, or too different. But if you are someone who enjoys calm, order, and slower pace of life, then it might be exactly what you are looking for. So is Japan perfect? Again, no. But for me, it's one of the places where everyday life feels calm, safe, and meaningful. Yes, of course I'm Japanese, so it might not be fair, but I believe that even if you aren't Japanese, you can feel the same here. If you can't believe me, just come here and live here. Right, I'd love to hear your thoughts about Japan. Let me know in the comment box below. And if you are curious to explore more, whether it's about Japanese daily life or culture shocks, please watch this video to know more detail about Japan. You might find something that changes how you see Japan. Alright, so thanks so much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.